Welcome to Peaceful Nightfall. Tonight's story is here to help you slow down, relax your mind, and gently let go of the day. Get comfortable, take a deep breath, and allow yourself to rest. Tonight's story is Willows Dancing in Fog. The distant hum of a river's gentle current carried on the stillness of the night, its subtle song weaving itself into the quietude of the riverside neighborhood. The darkness was punctuated only by the soft glow of street lamps, their warm light casting a sense of comfort over the sleeping homes. Beyond the lampposts' gentle radiance, the shadows of tall trees stretched out like dark tentacles, their leaves rustling softly in the breeze that whispered secrets to the river's surface. The air was heavy within, the scent of blooming lilacs, their sweet fragrance carried on the breath of night, as the neighborhood slumbered beneath a sky filled with stars that twinkled like diamonds scattered across the velvet expanse. The gentle lapping of the river's water against its banks created a soothing melody that harmonized with the soft rustle of leaves in the nearby willow tree, whose branches swayed gently in the night air like a ballerina's skirt. A faint scent of freshly cut grass wafted from the community nearby park, where the last rays of sunlight had long since faded, leaving behind only the memory of its warmth. As the river's song continued to lull the neighborhood into a peaceful slumber, the fragrance of blooming lilacs mingled with the soft scent of dew-kissed petals from the nearby rose bushes, whose delicate thorns were now mere whispers against the darkness. The street lamp's warm glow cast long shadows across the pavement, where the occasional firefly flickered to life, its tiny light flashing like a Morse code message carried on the gentle breeze that rustled the leaves of the nearby oak tree, its gnarled branches stretching towards the star-filled sky like nature's own work of art. The river's song harmonized with the soft ticking of a grandfather clock in the distance, its rhythmic pulse blending seamlessly with the rustling of the willow tree's leaves as they danced in the gentle night breeze. The scent of freshly baked bread wafted from an open window, carrying the sweet aroma of warmth and comfort into the night air, where it mingled with the fragrance of blooming lilacs and the soft petal freshness of the sea, dew-kissed rose bushes. The river's song had long since settled into its gentle rhythm, a constant heartbeat that seemed to pulse in harmony with the quiet of the night. The air was heavy with the scent of blooming lilacs, and the soft rustle of leaves as they danced in the breeze carried on the whispers of the willow tree. In the distance, the faint hum of a streetcar rumbled along its tracks, its engine purring softly like a contented animal as it made its way through the sleeping neighborhood. The stars above twinkled like diamonds scattered across the velvet expanse, their soft light casting a warm glow over the pavement where the occasional firefly flickered to life, its tiny light flashing like a Morse code message carried on the gentle breeze that rustled the leaves of the nearby oak tree. The river's song continued to weave a spell of tranquility over the neighborhood, as the scent of freshly cut grass mingled with the sweetness of blooming lilacs and the soft petal freshness of dew-kissed rose bushes. The street lamp's warm glow cast long shadows across the pavement, where the occasional firefly flickered to life, its tiny light flashing like a Morse code message carried on the gentle breeze that rustled the leaves of the nearby oak tree. Amidst this soothing symphony, a lone figure emerged from the open doorway of a house, its porch creaking softly as it stepped out into the night air, the sound blending seamlessly with the river's song. The figure moved slowly down the sidewalk, its footsteps quiet on the pavement where the street lamps cast a warm glow. The scent of white, freshly cut grass mingled with the sweetness of blooming lilacs and the soft petal freshness of dew-kissed rose bushes as it walked towards the river. The sound of the water lapping gently against the shore, creating a soothing melody that harmonized with the grandfather clock's rhythmic pulse. The willow tree's leaves rustled softly in the breeze, their gentle whisper weaving together with the distant hum of the streetcar, to create a symphony of sounds that enveloped the figure as it strolled along the riverbank, its footsteps slowing as it reached the water's edge. As the figure stood at the water's edge, The river's song seemed to grow even more gentle, its melody weaving together with the soft lapping of the water against the shore to create a sense of serene harmony. The stars above twinkled like diamonds scattered across the velvet expanse, their soft light casting a warm glow over the figure as it gazed out at the darkness of the river, where the occasional fish broke the surface tension with a quiet splash. The scent of blooming lilacs and freshly cut grass mingled with the petal freshness of dew-kissed rose bushes as the figure breathed in deeply, its chest rising and falling slowly in time with the grandfather clock's rhythmic pulse. As the figure stood at the water's edge, the river's song seemed to grow even more gentle, its melody weaving together with the soft lapping of the water against the shore to create a sense of serene harmony. The stars above twinkled like diamonds scattered across the velvet expanse, their soft light casting a warm glow over the figure as it gazed out at the darkness of the river, where the occasional fish broke the surface tension with a quiet splash. The scent of blooming lilacs and freshly cut grass mingled with the petal freshness of dew-kissed rose bushes as the figure breathed in deeply, its chest rising and falling slowly in time with the grandfather clock's rhythmic pulse. The soft rustle of the willow tree's leaves grew louder, their gentle whisper weaving together with the distant hum of the streetcar to create a symphony of sounds that enveloped the figure as it stood at the water's edge, its eyes drinking in the peaceful scene unfolding before it. The river's current carried small branches and leaves downstream, their gentle twirling dance creating a mesmerizing pattern on the surface of the water. The figure's gaze followed the drifting debris, its attention drawn to the way the soft light of the stars caught the wispy tendrils of fog rising from the river's edge, casting an ethereal glow over the entire scene. As the figure breathed in deeply, the scent of the blooming lilacs and freshly cut grass mingled with the damp, earthy smell of the riverbank, weaving together into a rich tapestry of aromas that filled its senses. The gentle lapping of the water against the shore created a soothing melody that harmonized with the soft rustle of the willow tree's leaves and the distant hum of the streetcar. As the figure's gaze continued to follow the drifting branches and leaves downstream, the fog rising from the river's edge grew thicker, casting an otherworldly veil over the water's surface, where a small family of ducks paddled quietly through the mist, their feathers glistening in the soft starlight. The figure's gaze followed the ducks as they disappeared into the fog, their quiet quacks fading away like whispers on the wind. The river's song seemed to grow even more contemplative, its melody weaving together with the sound of distant crickets and the soft creaking of ancient trees to create a sense of hushed reverie. A faint mist rose from the willow tree's roots, curling around the figure's ankles like a gentle caress. The scent of damp earth and decaying leaves wafted up from the riverbank, mingling with the sweet fragrance of blooming lilacs and the crisp freshness of cut grass to create a rich tapestry of aromas that filled the figure's senses. As the fog continued to swirl around the willow tree's gnarled branches, the figure's gaze wandered upstream, following the river's gentle curve as it disappeared into the darkness of the nearby woods. The scent of damp earth and decaying leaves grew stronger here, mingling with the sweet fragrance of blooming wildflowers that clung to the forest floor. A faint rustling echoed through the trees as a small flock of night-blooming moths flitted about the figure's head, their delicate wings shimmering in the soft starlight. The river's song seemed to grow even more mellow, its melody weaving together with the sound of distant frogs and the soft creaking of ancient tree limbs to create a sense of quiet companionship. The mist that rose from the willow tree's roots curled around the figure's ankles like a gentle caress, its coolness seeping into the skin. As the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves mingled with the sweet fragrance of blooming lilacs and the crisp freshness of cut grass, a small cluster of fireflies flitted about the base of the tree, their soft glow illuminating the misty veil that hung like a curtain between the riverbank and the darkness of the nearby woods. The sound of distant crickets continued to weave together with the gentle lapping of the water against the shore, creating a soothing melody that harmonized with the quiet rustling of leaves and the faint hum of the streetcar in the distance. As the figure's gaze wandered further upstream, the scent of blooming wildflowers grew stronger, mingling with the earthy aroma of the riverbank as the mist began to lift, revealing the outlines of tall trees that stood like sentinels along the water's edge. The soft glow of the fireflies danced across the misty veil, casting an ethereal light on the undulating riverbank. The scent of blooming wildflowers mingled with the damp earth and decaying leaves as the figure's gaze drifted downstream, following the river's gentle curve around a bend where the trees grew closer to the water's edge, their branches tangling together in a natural canopy that filtered the starlight into dappled patterns on the surface of the river. A small wooden dock jutted out into the water, its weathered planks creaking softly with each gentle lapping of the waves against its base, while a few wisps of fog clung to its edges like gossamer threads, slowly unraveling as the night air grew cooler and more tranquil. The mist continued to lift, revealing the weathered wooden slats of the dock's surface, worn smooth by generations of footsteps and gentle river currents. A few strands of kudzu vines curled around the dock's supports, their delicate tendrils weaving together intricate patterns that seemed to mirror the flowing curves of the river itself. As the figure's gaze drifted further downstream, the distant hum of the streetcar gave way to the soft chirping of crickets, their melodic trilling blending with a gentle lapping of the water against the shore, creating a soothing background symphony that harmonized with the quiet rustling of leaves and the scent of blooming wildflowers. The misty veil that had shrouded the riverbank began to dissipate, revealing the dark shapes of tall trees that stood sentinel along the water's edge, their branches tangling together in a natural canopy that filtered the starlight into dappled patterns on the surface of the river, while the soft glow of fireflies danced across the misty veil, casting an ethereal light on the undulating river. As the mist continued to lift, the figure's gaze settled on a small wooden boat, its hull weathered to a warm honey-brown color, moored at the dock's edge. A few wisps of fog still clung to its curved prow, slowly unraveling as the night air grew cooler and more tranquil. The water lapped gently against the boat's hull, creating a soft, rhythmic melody that harmonized with the distant chirping of crickets and the rustling of leaves along the riverbank. A delicate tendril of kudzu vine curled around the boat's rail, its pale tendrils weaving together intricate patterns that seemed to mirror the flowing curves of the river itself. The wooden boat's worn cushions were covered in a soft layer of moss and lichen, their earthy scent mingling with the sweet aroma of blooming wildflowers as the mist continued to lift, revealing the dark shapes of tall trees that stood sentinel along the water's edge. The sound of the river's gentle lapping against the shore blended with the distant chirping of crickets and the soft rustling of leaves, creating a soothing background symphony that harmonized with the quiet rhythm of the surrounding environment. A small wooden box, its lid slightly ajar, rested at the boat's prow, emitting a faint scent of old leather and polished wood, while a few wisps of fog still clung to its edges, slowly unraveling as the night air grew cooler and more tranquil. As the mist continued to clear, the figure's gaze wandered to the faint silhouettes of willow trees that lined the riverbank, their slender branches like nature's own pianos, plucking out a gentle melody as the breeze whispered through their leaves. The soft glow of fireflies danced across the munch veil, casting an ethereal light on the undulating riverbank, where a small cluster of moonflowers had bloomed, their delicate white petals unfolding like tiny stars in the night. A faint scent of honey wafted from the flowers, mingling with the earthy aroma of moss and lichen that covered the wooden boat's worn cushions. The sound of the river's gentle lapping against the shore blended with the distant chirping of crickets and the soft rustling of leaves, creating a soothing background symphony that harmonized with the quiet rhythm of the surrounding environment. As the mist continued to lift, the figure's gaze drifted to the riverbank, where a small clearing had formed around ancient cypress tree. T's gnarled branches twisted upward, forming a natural canopy that filtered the moonlight into soft, silvery pools on the earth below. A few scattered leaves, like fragments of forgotten stories, lay strewn about the clearing, their edges curling and uncurling as the breeze whispered through them. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying wood, a primal aroma that seemed to hold secrets from another era. The ancient cypress tree's branches continued their slow dance, in the moonlight, casting dappled shadows on the earth below. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying wood, a primal aroma that seemed to hold secrets from another era. As the breeze stilled, the figure's gaze drifted back to the river, where the water's gentle lapping had created a series of small ripples that stretched out like a path of polished silver across the darkening surface. The sound of the river's quiet voice blended with the distant chirping of crickets and the soft rustling of leaves in the willow trees, while the scent of honey from the moonflowers mingled with the earthy aroma of moss and lichen that clung to the wooden boat's worn cushions. As the figure's gaze lingered on the river's silver path, a faint glint caught their attention. A small, weathered stone half buried in the earth. T's surface was etched with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and shimmer in the moonlight, like the gentle lapping of the river against its banks. The air around it vibrated with the same quiet rhythm as the surrounding environment, as if the stone itself were a tiny, ancient pulse beating in harmony with the universe. As the figure's gaze settled on the weathered stone, the moon's silvery light danced across its intricate patterns, casting a subtle glow that illuminated the surrounding foliage. The air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming jasmine, its delicate white petals unfolding like tiny stars in the darkness. A faint hum of crickets grew louder, as if they, too, were drawn to the stone's ancient pulse, their chirping harmonizing with the gentle lapping of the river against its banks. The cypress tree's branches continued their slow dance, casting dappled shadows on the earth below, while a small, wispy fog began to creep across the clearing, carrying the whispers of forgotten stories and ancient secrets. As the wispy fog crept closer, it wrapped itself around the weathered stone, releasing the faintest hint of misty vanilla into the air. The scent mingled with the jasmine's sweet perfume, creating a heady aroma that drew the figure's gaze back to the stone. The cypress tree's branches seemed to lean in, as if sharing a long-held secret, while the river's gentle voice whispered secrets to the shore. The crickets' chirping grew louder still, their rhythmic song weaving together with the lapping of the water against its banks. In this quiet, moonlit moment, the world felt suspended in time, as if the very pulse of existence had come to a standstill. And yet, amidst this stillness, the stone's ancient heartbeat continued to reverberate, a gentle reminder that even in the most tranquil of moments, the universe held secrets waiting to be unearthed. As the wispy fog curled around the weathered stone, it released a faint whisper of forgotten melodies, carrying the sweet scent of blooming orange blossoms across the clearing. The air grew heavier with the weight of these ancient songs, as if the cypress tree's branches had leaned in to listen, their leaves rustling softly in time with the crickets chirping. Meanwhile, the river's gentle voice continued its steady rhythm, its ripples caressing the shore with a soothing serenity. The figure's gaze remained fixed on the stone, mesmerized by the intricate patterns that seemed to shift and shimmer like the moon's silvery light dancing across the water. As the fog grew thicker, it began to take on a life of its own, tendrils curling around the cypress tree's branches as if embracing the ancient secrets hidden within its bark. The scent of orange blossoms mingled with the jasmine's sweet perfume, filling the air with a heady aroma that drew the figure deeper into the clearing, where the stone's ancient heartbeat continued to reverberate, a reminder that even in this tranquil moment, the universe held mysteries waiting to be unearthed. The fog's tendrils continued their gentle dance around the cypress tree, releasing tiny droplets of mist into the air. These droplets condensed on the leaves, glistening like 1,000 tiny diamonds scattered across the branches. The crickets' chirping grew louder still, their song intertwining with the sound of the river's lapping water to create a mesmerizing melody that seemed to draw the fog closer, wrapping it around the tree in soft, wispy layers. The cypress tree's branches swayed slightly in response to the crickets' song, their leaves rustling with an almost imperceptible whisper as they released tiny flakes of pale yellow pollen into the air. The fog wrapped around them like a gentle cloak, infusing the scene with an otherworldly essence that seemed to awaken the sleeping sense of damp earth and moss-covered stones. As the river's rhythm continued its steady pulse, the figure's gaze remained fixed on the stone, their mind attuning itself to the symphony of sounds and sensations unfolding around them. The fog's tendrils curled around a nearby thicket of rosemary, releasing wisps of air, its aromatic essence into the air. The scent wafted towards the figure, mingling with the orange blossom's sweetness and jasmine's perfume to create an intoxicating bouquet that filled their senses. As they breathed it in, the cypress tree's branches seemed to lean closer, as if sharing ancient secrets whispered on the river's breeze. The crickets' chirping grew louder still, their song intertwining with the sound of water lapping against the shore to create a soothing melody that lulled the surroundings into an even deeper tranquility. The fog's tendrils slowly curled around a nearby patch of velvety, soft moss, releasing tiny droplets of condensed mist onto its surface. The moss absorbed the moisture, releasing a subtle earthy aroma that mingled with the river's scent, creating an intoxicating blend of damp soil and fresh water. As the figure breathed it in, the cypress tree's branches seemed to relax their hold on the fog, allowing it to drift gently across the clearing, casting a soft, ethereal light on the scene. The crickets' chirping grew quieter, still, their song slowing to a gentle hum that harmonized with the river's steady pulse. The fog's tendrils drifted lazily across the clearing, casting an otherworldly glow on the moss-covered stones and the wispy threads of rosemary. As it wrapped around a nearby sapling, its branches began to sway in rhythm with the crickets' humming song, their leaves releasing tiny bursts of pollen into the air. The scent of damp earth and moss mingled with the sweetness of orange blossoms and jasmine's perfume, filling the air with an intoxicating bouquet that seemed to draw the figure deeper into the clearing. The fog's tendrils continued their slow dance across the clearing, wrapping gently around a nearby cluster of wildflowers. The delicate petals unfolded like tiny trumpets, releasing a sweet nectar that attracted a few lazy bees to linger amidst the misty veil. As they flitted from bloom to bloom, their gentle buzzing harmonized with the crickets' humming song, weaving a tapestry of sound that seemed to ensnare the very essence of the clearing. The river's steady pulse continued its rhythm, a constant heartbeat that underscored the symphony of sounds and sensations unfolding around the figure. The fog's tendrils wrapped gently around the wildflowers, releasing tiny droplets of mist onto their delicate petals. The scent of damp earth and moss mingled with the sweetness of orange blossoms and jasmine's perfume, filling the air with an intoxicating bouquet that seemed to draw the figure deeper into the clearing. As they breathed it in, the cypress tree's branches relaxed their hold on the fog, allowing it to drift lazily across the clearing, casting a soft, ethereal light on the moss-covered stones and the wispy threads of rosemary. The river's steady pulse continued its rhythm, a constant heartbeat that underscored the symphony of sounds and sensations unfolding around the figure. The fog's tendrils wrapped gently around a nearby cluster of ferns, their delicate fronds unfolding like tiny umbrellas to shelter the damp earth beneath. As they released their morning dew into the air, it mingled with the scent of orange blossoms and jasmine's perfume, filling the space with an intoxicating bouquet that seemed to draw the figure deeper into the clearing. The river's steady pulse continued its rhythm, a constant heartbeat that underscored the symphony of sounds and sensations unfolding around the figure as they breathed in the misty veil, their presence becoming one with the gentle harmony of the environment. The fog's tendrils crept across the moss-covered stones, releasing tiny droplets of moisture that reflected the soft light filtering through the cypress tree's branches. The scent of damp earth and rosemary mingled with the sweetness of orange blossoms, drawing the figure deeper into the clearing as they breathed in the tranquil atmosphere. A small, iridescent dragonfly alighted on a nearby fern frond, its delicate wings beating in time with the river's steady pulse as it surveyed the surroundings before taking flight once more. The fog's tendrils curled around a weathered wooden bench, worn smooth by generations of gentle fingers, tracing the intricate carvings on its backrest. The scent of old wood and morning dew wafted up, mingling with the fragrance of blooming lilacs that grew nearby, their purple flowers unfolding like tiny jewels in the misty veil. As the fog's tendrils lifted, a small, forgotten book lay open on the bench, its yellowed pages rustling softly as they released the faint aroma of aged paper into the air. The river's gentle lapping against the shore created a soothing melody that harmonized with the soft rustle of leaves and the distant chirping of crickets, weaving a tapestry of sounds that enveloped the figure in a sense of peace. The forgotten book's pages continued to whisper their secrets to the morning air, releasing the faint scent of old leather into the misty veil as it slowly creaked shut. Cover adorned with intricate wooden carvings that seemed to dance across the weathered wood like tiny ballerinas. A delicate spider web stretched across the nearby lilac bush, its gossamer threads shimmering in the soft light as a small fly hovered momentarily before disappearing into the morning's warmth. The fog's tendrils curled around the base of ancient cypress tree, its twisted branches reaching towards the sky like nature's own work of art, as the scent of damp earth and rosemary mingled with the sweetness of orange blossoms to create an intoxicating bouquet that seemed to draw the figure deeper into the clearing. The fog's tendrils curled around a weathered wooden gate, its metal hinges creaking softly as they swung open on their own, revealing a hidden path that wound its way through a nearby garden where tall stalks of sunflowers stood like sentinels, their bright yellow petals still and silent in the morning light. The scent of damp soil and ripening fruit wafted up from the garden's depths, mingling with the fragrance of blooming jasmine that twined its delicate white flowers around the gate's wooden frame, releasing a sweet, heady aroma into the air as the forgotten book's cover creaked open once more, its yellowed pages rustling softly in the morning breeze. The river's gentle lapping against the shore continued to create its soothing melody, harmonizing with the soft chirping of crickets and the distant hum of bees as they flitted from flower to flower, collecting nectar for their hives hidden away in the nearby trees. The gentle morning light danced across the garden's paths, illuminating tiny patches of moss that covered the stones beneath the sunflower's tall stalks. The fragrance of ripening fruit and damp earth grew stronger as the forgotten book's pages rustled softly in the breeze, releasing a few loose leaves into the air like tiny butterflies fluttering around the jasmine's delicate white flowers. A small, iridescent dragonfly alighted on the gate's wooden frame, its wings beating slowly as it surveyed its surroundings before taking flight once more, leaving behind a faint shimmer of light that danced across the misty veil as it vanished into the morning's warmth. The cypress trees twisted. Branches seemed to reach out, their gnarled limbs weaving together like nature's own braid, as the river's gentle lapping against the shore continued its soothing melody, harmonizing with the soft chirping of crickets and the distant hum of bees collecting nectar from the nearby flowers. As the dragonfly disappeared into the mist, a faint rustling sound emerged from the garden's depths, growing louder as a small fox with rusty fur and bright green eyes peeked out from behind a sunflower's tall stalk. Tiet's bushy, tail twitching, it sniffed the air, drawn to the sweet aroma of ripening fruit and the subtle tang of damp soil. The forgotten book's pages rustled softly in response, releasing a few more loose leaves that danced across the misty veil like tiny butterflies, fluttering around the jasmine's delicate white flowers. As the fox's nose twitched with excitement, it padded silently out from behind the sunflower's stalk, its paws barely making a sound on the moist earth. The cypress tree's branches seemed to lean in as if sharing a secret, as the river's gentle lapping continued its soothing melody. A nearby patch of wild grapes began to stir, their vines slowly unfolding like tiny green fingers, releasing a faint whisper of sweet fragrance into the air. As the fox's paws made barely a sound on the earth, it padded towards the cypress tree's twisted branches, its bright green eyes fixed on the misty veil that clung to the garden's paths like a gossamer curtain. The forgotten book's pages rustled softly in response, releasing a few more loose leaves that drifted lazily downwind, carried by the gentle morning breeze towards the river's edge, where water striders skated effortlessly across the surface, their delicate legs beating steadily as they navigated the ripples caused by a hidden school of minnows swimming beneath. The fox's paws paused at the cypress tree's base, where the ancient trunk was adorned with a few weathered shells and the soft, feathery fronds of ferns. The misty veil clung to its bark like a damp shawl, casting an eerie glow on the surrounding vegetation. As the fox sniffed the air once more, a faint scent of damp earth and decaying leaves wafted up from a nearby compost heap, where a tiny toad had taken up residence amidst the rotting vegetables and fruit peels. The forgotten book's pages rustled softly in response, releasing a few more loose leaves that drifted lazily towards the compost heap, where they mingled with the damp soil and the toad's secretions, slowly breaking down into nutrient-rich humus. Meanwhile, the river continued its gentle lapping against the shore, harmonizing with the soft chirping of crickets and the distant hum of bees collecting nectar from the nearby flowers. The misty veil clung to the cypress tree's bark like a damp shawl, casting an eerie glow on the surrounding vegetation as the fox's paws made barely a sound on the earth. A few wispy strands of Spanish moss hung from the branches like nature's own tapestry, gently swaying in the morning breeze that carried the sweet fragrance of wild grapes and the soft rustling of forgotten book pages towards the compost heap where the tiny toad had taken up residence amidst the rotting vegetables and fruit. The sound of water striders skating effortlessly across the river's surface blended with the distant hum of bees collecting nectar from the nearby flowers, creating a soothing melody that harmonized with the gentle lapping of the river against the shore as the sun rose higher in the sky, casting a warm glow on the garden's winding paths. As the misty veil lifted, a few tentative rays of sunlight crept through the leafy canopy above, illuminating the fine, powdery down on the fern fronds and imbuing the air with a subtle warmth. The compost heap's damp scent mingled with the earthy aroma wafting from the riverbank, where the first tender shoots of spring growth were beginning to unfurl amidst the tangled roots of ancient willows. As the sun's warmth seeped into the ferns, a delicate dance of light and shadow began on the forest floor. The soft rustling of leaves mingled with the gentle lapping of the river against the shore, creating a soothing symphony that harmonized with the sweet fragrance of wild grapes ripening on the trellis above. Meanwhile, a small procession of ants marched across the compost heap, carrying tiny fragments of leaf and twig to their underground kingdom, where they would be transformed into nutrient-rich soil. The forgotten book's pages continued to rustle softly in response, releasing a few more loose leaves that drifted lazily toward the riverbank, where they mingled with the damp earth and the first tender shoots of spring growth beginning to unfurl amidst the tangled roots of ancient willows. The warm sunlight continued to dance across the ferns. A gentle breeze stirs the leaves, releasing a soft shower of golden light that settles among the ancient willow's twisted roots. The air is filled with the sweet scent of blooming azaleas as the first hints of morning dew begin to glisten on the leafy canopy above. A small brown snake emerges from the compost heap, its body sinuous and slow-moving as it begins to explore the newly warmed earth. The snake's slender form glided effortlessly across the damp soil, its forked tongue darting in and out as it searched for hidden treasures beneath the leaf litter. The warm sunlight filtering through the canopy above cast dappled shadows on the forest floor, where a small cluster of wild violets began to unfurl their delicate petals, releasing a sweet, powdery fragrance into the air. As the snake's path led it closer to the riverbank, the sound of water striders grew louder, their gentle thrumming harmonizing with the soft lapping of the river against the shore. As the sun's warmth seeped into the ancient willow's gnarled branches, a tiny procession of bees began to emerge from their honeycombed homes within the hollow trunks. With purposeful intensity, they flitted from flower to flower, collecting nectar and pollen to sustain their colony through the coming seasons. Meanwhile, a small cluster of butterflies perched on the tender shoots of spring growth, their delicate wings folded as they savored the sweet scent of blooming azaleas. As the bees' busy hum filled the air, a soft mist began to rise from the river's surface, coiling lazily into the morning light like a whispered secret. The willow's twisted branches seemed to lean in, as if sharing a long-forgotten tale, their rough bark glistening with dew and the sweet fragrance of blooming azaleas. The snake's sinuous form continued its slow exploration, pausing to inspect a particularly promising patch of leaf litter, where a small shimmering gemstone glinted like a hidden treasure. The mist swirling above the river's surface began to take on a life of its own, tendrils curling and uncurling like a gentle lover's caress. The bees continued their diligent work, their busy hum mingling with the soft lapping of the water against the shore as they gathered nectar from the azalea's delicate flowers. Meanwhile, the butterflies unfolded their wings, their iridescent scales shimmering in the morning light as they took to the air, dancing a slow waltz above the forest floor. The willow's branches creaked softly in accompaniment, their ancient limbs stretching towards the sky like nature's own harp strings. As the mist dissipated, revealing the river's tranquil surface, a small sailboat drifted lazily down the current, its canvas canopy billowing in the gentle breeze like a white feather. The boat's wooden hull glowed with a warm, honeyed light, as if infused with the very essence of the surrounding willows. A few wispy strands of spider silk glistened on the water's edge, where they had been spun by an industrious arachnid earlier that morning. As the sailboat drifted closer to the shore, its wake rippled outwards, causing a small school of minnows to dart and weave through the shallows like tiny, shimmering jewels. The air remained heavy with the scent of blooming azaleas, while the bees continued their diligent work, their busy hum mingling with the soft lapping of the water against the shore as they gathered nectar from the forest's lush vegetation. The sailboat glided to a stop just beyond the reach of the willow's longest branch, its wooden hull seeming to blend seamlessly with the surrounding trees, as if it had grown there organically. The canvas canopy billowed softly in the breeze, releasing a faint scent of old leather and sea salt into the air. A small bird, its feathers a deep shade of indigo, landed delicately on the boat's edge, its bright, inquisitive eyes scanning the surrounding foliage for any sign of food or potential danger. As it surveyed its surroundings, the mist began to reform above the river, tendrils curling and uncurling, like a gentle lover's caress as it responded to the subtle changes in temperature and humidity. The bees continued their diligent work, their busy hum mingling with the soft lapping of the water against the shore as they gathered nectar from the forest's lush vegetation. The mist grew thicker, casting a veil of secrecy over the river's surface. The sailboat's wooden hull seemed to absorb the moisture, its honeyed glow softening to a gentle warmth. A small stone pathway, worn smooth by generations of footsteps, emerged from the vegetation and wound its way along the shore. Delicate wildflowers, their petals like tiny stars, bloomed between the stones, releasing a sweet, heady scent into the air. The indigo bird's eyes never left the surrounding foliage as it searched for sustenance, its tiny beak dipping into the flowers to gather nectar. A small clearing opened up ahead, where the willow's branches formed a natural archway, filtering the misty light and casting dappled shadows across the riverbank. The mist continued to swirl around the sailboat, its tendrils curling and uncurling like a living entity as it responded to the subtle changes in temperature and humidity. The air was heavy with the scent of blooming flowers, and the soft lapping of the water against the shore created a soothing melody that seemed to match the gentle rhythm of the mist. A small, gnarled tree stood, sentinel at the edge of the clearing, its branches twisted and knotted in a way that seemed both ancient and resilient. The indigo bird's eyes never left the surrounding foliage as it searched for sustenance, its tiny beak dipping into the flowers to gather nectar. The mist continued to swirl around the sailboat, its tendrils curling and uncurling like a living entity as it responded to the subtle changes in temperature and humidity. The scent of blooming wildflowers wafted across the water, mingling with the sweet aroma of damp earth and decaying leaves. A small, rusty gate creaked softly in the gentle breeze, its hinges worn smooth by years of use. Beyond the gate, a narrow path wound its way up the hillside, disappearing into the mist-shrouded forest. The indigo bird's eyes never left the surrounding foliage as it searched for sustenance, its tiny beak dipping into the flowers to gather nectar. As the sailboat drifted closer to the Willow's natural archway, the mist grew thicker, shrouding the wooden hull in a damp gray mist that smelled faintly of moss and decaying wood. The indigo bird's eyes followed the sailboat's gentle rocking motion as it settled into the stillness. Its tiny beak paused mid-air above a particularly plump wildflower. A small, delicate spider descended from the willow's branches, its legs weaving an intricate pattern on the stone pathway as it searched for an unsuspecting fly to snare. The creaking of the rusty gate grew louder, punctuated by the soft snapping of twigs and leaves as unseen creatures scurried through the underbrush. The mist began to clear, revealing a small, weathered wooden bench nestled among the tall grasses and wildflowers. The sailboat drifted closer, its hull scraping gently against the riverbank as it came to rest beside the bench. The indigo bird's eyes never left the surrounding foliage as it watched the spider complete its intricate pattern on the stone pathway before disappearing into a hidden crevice. A faint scent of old leather and wood polish wafted from the bench, mingling with the sweet aroma of blooming flowers and damp earth. The sailboat's hull creaked softly as it nudged against the riverbank, its wooden slats worn smooth by years of gentle rocking. A few strands of wild grasses tangled around its prow, their delicate stems swaying in the breeze like a chorus of tiny ballerinas. Beyond the sailboat, the willow's branches continued to sway, their leaves rustling softly as they whispered secrets to the mist-shrouded forest. The indigo bird's eyes never left the surrounding foliage, its tiny beak still paused mid-air above the plump wildflower, as if waiting for some unseen signal to resume its search for sustenance. As the sailboat settled into the stillness, a small rusty key slipped from beneath the worn wooden slats and landed with a soft clink on the stone pathway. The indigo bird's eyes never left the surrounding foliage as it watched the spider re-emerge from its crevice, its legs weaving an intricate pattern around the key, as if trying to claim it for its own. The willow's branches continued to sway, their leaves rustling softly as they whispered secrets to the mist-shrouded forest, while the sailboat's hull creaked gently against the riverbank, its wooden slats worn smooth by years of gentle rocking. The stone pathway began to fade into the morning light, the intricate pattern of the spider's web glinting softly as the dew-kissed grasses and wildflowers stirred, their delicate petals unfolding like tiny wings. The sailboat's hull creaked in gentle rhythm with the willow's branches, its wooden slats worn smooth by years of gentle rocking, while the indigo bird's eyes never left the surrounding foliage, its tiny beak still poised mid-air above the plump wildflower, as if waiting for some unseen signal to resume its search for sustenance. The rusty key lay hidden beneath the spider's web, its intricate pattern weaving around it like a tiny metallic halo, as the mist-shrouded forest whispered secrets to the willow's rustling leaves. Now, as the story gently fades away, let the words rest, let the sounds remain. Allow the gentle, calming sounds to carry you, slowly and naturally, into deep, peaceful sleep.